dani jasunji Nage jinso yebe sonam je Dolo benje sanje do paraisho Sanje jedan zoye sonam la Janjo bardo dani jasunji Nage jinso yebe sonam je Dolo benje sanje do paraisho Sanje jedan zoye sonam la Janjo bardo dani jasunji Nage jinso yebe sonam je Dolo benje sanje do paraisho
Pakistan point doya de pamente.
Original don't work.
Original.
Oh.
No what? Oh,
We recite in English from now until onward. English in the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Oh yeah, that kasa. Kagene da duda jigi tapungsul nani dodepe menjegi tapungsul de kasa chimbare deda duda mawe thingi to chimbare. Da tapungsul de so ke chimbu shu cha de re ke kangala ne. Shen kersi chendene gorgires. An tichi de gala tichi phage diche de ne ta de odela loji ne bacha ba de pe ke chimbare. Ante odela duda komagam 다 군인지메 엄발랍자 경우도 두다 공말라 쳐도서 엄말라 당부치기가 말이지 응아라서 롤랭기게 라진기 즉 당규를 타와다 할레베 타와 장보 몰라 뭐엘라 내들데 대 장보르데 저라마단도데 바다 센자바 되게 될 타와라 맘베 마다치 가서 툭툭지 셰바 제거다 개침버리스 디시바이나 공밀 타와 텔레 차도서 셰알레 펜도체 용그레스
Last Sunday, we discussed about the how to avoid extremes by four school of thoughts, and later we also went through the special sort of advice by this book's author Kunjen Jigme Wangbo, that we shouldn't be looking down upon lower schools, and because we have this kind of innate characteristics of when we see some higher or supreme, we tend to kind of look down upon the lower. So he is advising us here that we shouldn't be doing that in terms of these four school of thoughts. And because the better understanding that you have of the lower schools, the later you will have more deeper correct understanding of the subtle philosophies of the higher school.
다 되어들라 신앙기 두타마에 개발돼 시고레스. 신앙기 개발돼 gemru건인 제바 개지가 담바지. 신앙기 두타마에 개발돼 tawa karta ki chage chi kelen na malengone cheugo ares teso yansebo kenaya bores.
And it's also good to remind yourself about the differences between Buddhist and non-Buddhist. And for that we mention refuge. If you have a refuge, you are considered Buddhist. Without refuge, non-Buddhist. And in the text it mentioned about differences between a proponent of Buddhist tenets and versus those who doesn't. So for the proponents of Buddhist tenets, we mentioned about who asserts the four seals, or who accepts the four seals.
Nangpa inna nangpa tuta mawa imbe kheba yo mares. Nangpa tuta mawa inna nangpa imbe pha kheb gres.
So here, when we look at these two, Buddhist and the proponents of Buddhist tenets, if you are Buddhist, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are the proponents of Buddhist tenets. There could be Buddhists who is not the second, but if you are proponent of Buddhist tenets, then we can say that you are necessarily or has to be a Buddhist.
Nangpa tuta mawa inna ko phagi chik toje jene jeba jene ani jeba jebe jethardra diri se tam jene ni be tuta phagi tawa kharda ge chage jindila tokje ani da dije tamje meta ba saje tamje dunga wa che tamje da me ba nyangal ne ba jiwa singinde khande khanji do toje jene rang lue thang oni jimba hagwa jene ini tindawe tamchewa de mindor khenjila tamja tempojila ini tutase gore ota tendi gore nangpa inna chosum tepachi ini tendi ki toje shira machina nangpa ri yo go tepa tembo yore ini temba chondende ini chosum ki yenden thongone tepa tesam chichuna ini phagi shira ki yachembo chepachi de ribi tawki tendi chewa keke yo mares te indugala chik wangpo no ini namche che lo che jila ini nampe tuta ma se tu chagores.
So as said before, when we look at these two, Buddhist and Buddhist proponent and Buddhist tenets, these are two different, and for the proponent of Buddhist tenets, it must come from analysis, clarifications of doubt or suspicions that you have on the philosophy or tenets. So when we look at the proponent of Buddhist tenets, last time we went through the four seals. Four seals. First one being all compounded phenomena are impermanent. Second, all contaminated things are miserable. Third, all phenomena are selfless. And fourth, nirvana is the peace. So if you are proponent of Buddhist tenets, you look at these four points, and then you do your best to analyze and come to the conclusion through analytical approach. And once you reach to the conclusion, you made a firm decision that this is my conclusion, philosophical conclusion, my concept, and I'm not going to give up this as so once you reach to that conclusion, then you have made sort of made up your mind, and then we can say that that is how you become a proponent of Buddhist tenets. But to become a Buddhist, you don't have to go through all this analytical understanding examination. If you have a firm belief in the three objects of refuge, seeing their positive qualities, then you are Buddhist. You don't have to be kind of going through process for the previous. So to become a proponent of Buddhist tenets, one has to have a kind of quite high level of intelligence, because it needs analysis and examinations.
어떤 낭비투다 뭐하잖아. 도저 야호제 거래. 심지어 야호제 거래. 틀 심바지. 대양 만 낭바인지 생과 맞았지. 오늘 로조르 네베다네. 점된디 순샤바. 캐두되게 순샤더라. 네 로조르 네베가네 도제지. 심지어지. 랑기 샘당도 바기 즉 빼지는 자마세 랑기 샘당도 차장 렌제네 도제지네. 두스제 토이나 오늘 펜다용 그랬어.
And said before, the proponent of Buddhist tenets, one needs to kind of, go through the examination, investigation, sort of experiment, and clarify your doubts or views or concept, and that should come from unbiased mentality, not because sort of being a Buddhist or saying that these are the Buddha's words. It should come out from your own understanding, and whatever that you learn from the text about these tenets of philosophy, it shouldn't be just staying in your book, but it must come in your mind, and through kind of understanding through your own sort of investigation, then one should be accepting these four tenets.
저자다 남배 두다제는 니시들라 과이 아버지 맞잖아. 남배 두다 용해 거랍니다. 뒤시 제비 최탐제 미다바래. 다 미다바 차라니까 삼당 거다. 미다바라보다 고 삼당 거예요. 말 통구하래. 미다바 참모데 에 삼로 님보 땅데 유진 거지 다 가버상만에 참만 부주래. 디마도 하고야입니다. 어다 되게 되지. 아니 뒤제 탐제 마다바. 자제 탐제 둥알와 세디가라 땅원이 즉 사바 녀몰라자네. 디부지 인친제 아니 둥알게 하시니 세디가라 다즉 진내긴지든 나주기 셈진 탐제 레등 녀몬비 저왕도 설친제라 땅원이 둥알 하시니 세디가라 다디 둥알 유리 둥알 자마인바 차반 뒤지기 둥알 삼당고도 내 미보지니 오니 소소 세메상도 파기 즉 규쟁권이 디기 토니 삼로지다네 sem라서 뭐 야바 주어이나 오니 즉 나랑주 농반디 니리지라 풍숨섭이 농벨인데 용되가라 오니 최대한 가버려 덴디지 삼다니 디제니 아니 파기 총광지보 지리 지셀란도 되가라 세미즈르데니 디제 되가라 도차라 소바차오 남센당 차도당 덴디미케라 팽기베 데페바이나 셈상도 지디 두바레 제체데 군 저와 먹고지도 와다 덴디 인디가라 오네 셈상노 파기 지디 두베라 오네 디게데 삼당 거 데팽기레 와다 디게데 작바 자제 탐제 동아와 시디가라 쉐 탐제 가제 잡 뉴몽 인디부지 인친제 뉴몽된 대화지 인체제 무슨 기츠니 와다티 동아게 하신지 통용도 갈라 아니 코로알인데 담거랍니다 상기 고방스인데 그야 베지 전지시야게 근데기 튕긴지 두는 거도 같아 베게 첨버리 아니 대주고다
So, why, as said before, to be a proponent of Buddhist tenets, one has to kind of, go through the process of analysis, investigation, experiment. So, for that, when we look at the four seals, all compounded phenomena are impermanent. Here, when you say that all compounded phenomena are impermanent, or when you accept this, a seal, you has to have the understanding of what is impermanent, and the subtle and the gross level of impermanent, and the gross level of impermanent, something that we can see, experience, but subtle, more difficult to understand, and one has to use logic or evidence or inferential, inference to understand subtle. So, Krishna said we discussed this quite, a lot before, and also when we look at the, all contaminated things are miserable. The contaminated here refers to the delusions or defilements. So whatever is the result of contamination or contaminated or delusions, is suffering or miserable, and it doesn't matter whether sentient beings or the yourself, all kind of includes, as long as one is under the influence of ignorance, delusion, whatever comes out from that will be a suffering. And for that, you have to look into the three types of suffering. And from the three types of suffering, one should have a good understanding of the third types of suffering, pervasive suffering, or suffering of conditioned suffering. And one has to have a very kind of strong conviction that pervasive suffering is actually the suffering. And when you live in a country like this, sometimes it might be kind of hard for you to think about Dharma because of materialistic development and kind of good sort of facilities. But at the same time, it is good to when you go to market or shopping, from the corner of your mind, kind of think about what are the the negative impacts of too much attachment, jealousy, envious mind, so sense of contentment. And when you think from corner of your mind about all this mental state, that will kind of bring you some level of kind of calmness of your mind. And that is actually, in fact, the practice of Dharma. When there is a through a kind of mind transformation, when you are able to achieve some level of peace, calmness, that itself is a practice. And when you have a good understanding of the pervasive suffering, the third types of suffering, as long as you are under the power of delusion, you are bound to suffer. If you have a strong conviction of that nature, that aspect, then you will have also kind of strong feeling that there is no other option than attaining complete enlightenment, because that is the only way or only state where you will be totally free from all suffering.
최탐제 라메 바 세대다 직 딜라다 다 예메고니 다 둔다 강가로니 심지어지니 지단에 다 예메 니 다데 지시당야 다딘 두고민도 다야데 다 두다 망보시기 만니니다 야갈 바베라 바게 치르부터 망보 도스치니 지시당거래 낭비 다 매박해린 거래 아내다 대마인바다 계산 망보지 넣어서 대나니 지르부바 양 레균에 켈링이 레데 이나양 다 매약 다 투바 켈링 거래 다 투바 켈링은 다 매나 대양 풍불을 던심배다 풍불을 왕기로 와보 즉 던심배다 아직 도스 켈링 거래 다 낭바 상기비 텐데 다디 균이야 말이지 다 세디가라 보다 디오니 태용거리 dumda susuga da andu sun manda yungore otaki dijikke 지난 개발 즉 개발난다 즉 7월 바이 나야 제르부바당 낭바니 레윤에 켈렘바 지바지 겨왕같이 켈렘바 지바지 나마네 주교 티 낭베케지 즉 겨왕같이 켈렘야도 낭베케지 말했으니 어다디 지르부바다 투모 차디요 나티 인도가라 맞죠 제발 가르친 말이잖아. 지르부베 자 풍불을 던지면 자지 켈레 자 됨dum지 켈레 남바게 된다왜 자데 자도 머드와 켈레 되게니 제발친 말이야. 어다디 남베 투모마이 미켜지 차디요. 어다디 양지 시와래. 대 냥알인데 버지와오 시 냥한데 양 요몽을 자네. 딜리 데바 딜리 갈나 데 빵투이나 애니 지와상기 고팡 세데 남바송이게 비트모만 깨져래. 다 치료바 지부바데서 뇨모 락바 배 드비 nyomong tendela ene pe kyondul tagore nyomong taji tawaya kashi tangdo lingyore tindigala namba sange be nyomong taji tawa 시지 빠차도 제바 ene bagi kyondul tane te pangyari dichigore te khabare oda tejo umbaya boji ene pe tadung 대간라 계란서 가서 두두 삼노다 ene 중전단일다 nembekia tups chegoramato 단당 네 랍샤비 디지부 군켜요 말이스 엔테가는 nembekia 거도 깨지 모르겠어 소소가 가서 또 가지 가서는 게 야버지 시기가 말아
first being all compounded phenomena are impermanent, second all contaminated things are miserable, third all phenomena are selfless. So here this is also important to understand in Buddhist, it's, as said here, all phenomena are selfless. So, finding what is self, what is the nature of self. And when we look back into the history in ancient India, there are many different, school of thoughts, and all have their own interpretation of what is self. And in Buddhism, there is, no independent self. And when you look into other non-Buddhist school like Jainism, one of the school that we discussed before, their interpretation is all they accept that there is a self, independent self, which is totally separate from this aggregate or this human body, and but they also accept common with Buddhism, like cause and effect, rebirth system, and these are all common. And so, as said before, rebirth and the cause and effect, law of causality, these are nothing unique to Buddhist philosophy. And the fourth, nirvana, is the peace. And as said before, nirvana is kind of beyond delusion or beyond defilements. And here, beyond defilements or delusions is once you are free from all delusions and ignorance, then what you attain is the peace. So peace is beyond all these delusions and defilements. And when you compare this with other non-Buddhist philosophy, you will find some school who does view a gross level of delusions as something that needs to be eliminated, false, but they don't kind of go into, like in Buddhism, kind of subtle delusions or subtle obscurations. So in Buddhism, as long as it is delusion, doesn't matter whether it is gross level or subtle, it is considered as a obscuration, something that needs to be abandoned or eliminated. So Geshe-la said, so these are the kind of important point that we covered last class. And so, after reading, these points, you can kind of reflect back upon, what are these meaning in your mind, and then it should be helpful if you also look at other texts that deals with the same topic. Otherwise, Geshe-la said, whatever, if you listen, study only, what he said, then that shouldn't be sufficient.
Oda di bordo kesanchi bares. Ta tini ola. Ta tawa karta gi chage ji khelim bi kansa de namba sangi bi tutama we singi na. Ani kalte ne mabu bi kansa ke da khelim bi namba sangi tutama mo mai ban gyuro je na keme te. Ta ne mabu ba de deba chupke chita mawala deva chupke yore. Deva chupke de kanchi tumba nyanga lendene di shuhu jebre. Oda ti deva chupke nane ne mamube kansa ke da kheling kele. Ti khele na ni namba sangi betu tuta mai mawa mai barendu guru wasna ti rigi mares ti kinyo mares. Ti kinyo mares. Karze kyome de 이 켈렘베다니 라갸토빈제기 달라스 다인라스 차게지 난게 다면 ताची रावाची के दामेले चेबे छिर सिटी गाला ता लेंदे तुस क्यावे ता ना ने मबु पे दा खेलेंगे का दाते काजे जन फुंपोले तय जेंबे वांग गुरबाबो तेंदे जिंदगी मारेस कांचे रंग यानी चिक्ताते जुता कोमेल ताना खेलें डुगुरु तू से आजे लें जे क्या गोरे तंदा दी नाला उमा थंगिरु जायुंदुला दा खेलें बा डुगुर मा तो खुरा खेलें बे काचा मारे खुरा के जमे दा दा खेलें गोरे नेमा बुबे जदमे दा खुरा दा खेलें बे तिंडवे दाते 풍부를 던 전도 요래 풍부도 ngo치도 요래 풍부를 타데도 요르잖아 저디요 말에 코나 랍시가 말 다 이니 그 자게 지는 게 다음에 때 가르잖아 참에 비치고 민집이 따봐 제기를 부스때 키지승딩이 달래 띠 다도 마르바 켈링 거래 코라게 어때디 개발대 저거래 다 딜라 럽줄 만다 요래 엄마 턴규에 봐 잘세 아니 다 라게트 빈제기다 켈린도 송아르세야 직제 아니 코랑게 제미기다 켈링을 마도 라게트 빈자 제기다 켈링 마레스 저드 제미기다 다 라투 마툼나 코랑조 마시베지 라투 툼나 다 풍부도 ngo치도 여러베잖아 대라 마시제 가르잖아 풍부 nga요 이제다 다데 nga레도 그러와 코랑 리빠당겐지 남주 영인지 인자 대지들가 타고 라산다 마세지네 저tum에 셀라 어디 저미 다켈링이 셀라 봐 어디 뒤집게 버려야지.
Continue with the text. It's on page 177. Second paragraph, starts with the objection. So it kind of continues with what is mentioned before on page 176. The definition. I will first read the 176. The definition of the proponent of Buddhist tenets is a person who asserts the four seals, which are the views testifying that the doctrine is Buddha's. The four seals are then, mentioned the four seals. So, and one of the four seals, number 30, is all phenomena are selfless. And so, in Buddhism, the proponents of Buddhist tenets accept, all phenomena are selfless. Then, there is a question that is, as the next part, objection on page 177. In that case, the Vatsiputriyas, in the bracket, it says a sub-school of great exposition school. So this is, there are 18 sub-school, when after passing away the Buddhas, his, proponents of Buddhist tenets kind of classified into 18 schools, and this is the one. And this school accepts, asserts the self of person. So the question is, one of the Buddhist school, asserts the self of person, then how can this school be a Buddhist? So that's basically the question here. It says, in that case, the Vatsiputra would not be proponents of Buddhist tenets because they assert a self of person. Now the answer here, clarification, is that although this school asserts a self of person, but that self is not same as the self in the four seals. So this is what's saying here. There is the answer. There is no such fallacy because the self that they assert is a self-sufficient, substantially existent self, whereas the selflessness of the four seals refers to the absence of permanent, unitary, and independent self. So this is the these three qualifications is the qualifications of self, which is one of the seal. So you can see here, these two self are different. The self that is asserted by the Buddhist school, and the self which Buddhist, says, not existent. Independent self, and that selflessness is asserted even by the five Samithya schools. The Vatsiputra as being one of the five, although they do assert in inexpressible self. So as mentioned in the bracket, so there are different actually interpretation by the different school of Buddhist, for this, why and how this sub-school of Buddhist asserts, existence of self. And the one interpretation is by the middle way consequent school, Madhyamika Prasangika, the higher school of school. And according to this school, they says that yes, this sub-school of Buddhism does assert a self of person, but their self of a person is not the same as the one in the fourth seal, and their self is, they call it inexpressible self. They cannot, when you ask, if self exists, then the mode of existence, they should be existing together with this aggregate, or they shouldn't be, existing with the body or aggregate. So, if self exists, you have to explain how self exists. So, for this, and this school don't have an answer. They say that, it is inexpressible. They can't say decisively this is how self exists. So, although they accept the existence of the or the self of person.
sumden dame kunsung tiji me sa sunga mangur denga gi ni kiji sumden gi da mangur denga gi jeme gi da kheling gi te ina yang chai che ji nang gi dame kiji sumden gi dam da du ma du ba ta ga rang kheling gi se da ta che song re se
karsong gi kiji sumden da
kiji sumden gi dame te da du ma du ba kheling gi se mangur jeng ne dam jeme dame yang sumden dame kunsung tejimes sum chage ji nangi kiji sumgel da to matuba tunda mawa jiga chungbares.
And like I said, there is actually a verse in the root text of the Tenets in which it says that basically, kind of the same point that is mentioned here. Although, one of the sub-school of Buddhists does assert, self of a person, but that self is not same as the the self in four seals. The self in the four seal has to have three characteristics: permanent, unitary, independent. But their interpretation of self, which is not independent, not single, impermanent, is same with the all other Buddhist schools.
다 대바 춥게 된 게야게 텐델데 마마진 중에 다 상기 어순 갑라 아니 자부티리 밀람다네 रे कार्बो छंबो जिला मीचपके की थने तुम्बा चपके छिंबारे एनी सांगे ओसुनला कंडीजुति गलाते नेटुते कबला मारे नेतेंबे कबला मारे माओंबाना नमने जिबा शागी गबो तेनी फेदियो गला एनी शागी गबे तेंबे कबला एनी शागी गबो जिंगले फेने तेजुगुला एनी पे बिगिनिंग एंड जुने देबा चुके तीन तिंगे ग्रिसरे दिदि काना ओदाते लुगी तंजी यार तादेबा चुके तिंगे को इकसेंदेला.
And why Buddhist schools or halter of the tenets kind of break down into 17 sub schools. So if you look into the history in the scripture, you will find that during the time of Buddha Yosung, not Shakyamuni, there was a king named Buddha Yosung is the third Buddha. Buddha Shakyamuni is the fourth. And there was a king named Titi, and he had a dream in which he saw 18 people holding piece of linen, and they are they're kind of pulling from their own side, so it kind of separates into, divided into 18 parts. And then king asked Buddha Wosung, I had this strange dream, and what does that mean? And then Buddha Wosung said that this will happen, but not during my time. This will happen during future Buddha Shakyamuni's time. So that is kind of how and sort of why the Buddhist sub schools kind of break down into 18 categories.
That didn't dewate yo mare jabati mila me asha bachi yore ngone te ngara to nyamnin chelan phingire yundu samatayala piuchi ngametse de la mizawang gwene shinong wala yore chebare piuchi tongnen sune ja bagi mizawe tongnen zulde juni mizana tong zuldengin degi bagi piu ngamala mizawang gwene de chali ge gore 그 ngamal mizawang gwene 이 야부디고 우승로 주디가라 마오바나 템바샤 샤게투비 뒤라 아니 소소 니베는 거네 아니 텐지 니방고를 잘리 얘기를 쓰시고 와리스 인트당 안한 송문에 고숨 녀몽 받아 이제 고숨 저방 오네 딘 아니 텐지 현적 현통한 데서 아주 누구누구로 와 어떻게 지금 말해 어떻게 용그리세요 오네 단단데 내가 때 텐지 차이고 랑초라 슈다 당고 말와 하기도 미기 동거래 딘두가라 때도 양아랑도 냠는 제라 뱅이도 왔어 그거는 진상 누가 돼 납치부터 와
There's another also dream by the same king, and Geshe said, although it is not directly related to this topic here, but this should be helpful for our practice. And the king had a dream, the same king. He had a dream. In the dream, he saw two monkeys, and one is sitting on the branch of the tree, and tip of the tail of the monkey there's a small stain of dirt. And then there's another monkey in the big sort of hole where his entire body is dirty or filthy dirt. And that monkey in the sort of small pond, he was criticizing that monkey on the tree that look at you have on tip of your tail you have that dirt, and not thinking about himself. So again, the king kind of asked Buddha, Wusung, and Buddha said, and this will happen during Buddha Shakyamuni's time. People, so he said this kind of, it's our time, and we tend to do basically the same thing. We don't look at our physical, verbal, mental, state, which most of us is filled with all kind of negativities. But when we see other people small thing, we criticize, make fun of, and we kind of finger point and say that such and such. So as said before, and when you think and look at this kind of his dream, this will make us kind of more aware of our own situation.
맞아 누구도 알아 미래 견제든 누구도 쓰고 알아 파 대전대 니마도 주요 말래 랑로 숨주요 숨주근데 하고 와 말했어 민주고 주야라 랑로 숨주도 알아 랑로 텔리 견제지 알아 숨고 알아 tingone로 와 왜네 줄이 대 심주지 야고저 섬야보다나 미 견제야 미도 랑기 녀몽들라 가서투도 디제이나 미 출라 견제에 용고 말해 파란 견세 통야 파가 퍽쩍 가버려. 랑기 녀모를 카드자 두니 녀모데 네트네 미젤라 오니 직 파기 귀구르다 미젤라 체동다 미젤라 제와다 대추 계속 개탄발리비야래. 최긴 인보데 세완매 봐라. 세완매 봐서야 돼. 니젤한테 개야지를 마도 니제 마인 뭐 zurdu jarni tsewa meba sayindi yunaya kore yon marwa menda ma geb zamji tsewa meba marwa te indi gala ngone bhajo gila jam ninji kiya gi jizari semja nalje de te nani nyamdam semje gomme gemme tegiti yeredo te ngone ningu repeteni te le katinji temba ina 녀모 소식이 녀모데 잔 데까지 tembaina 당원에 자생도 영약하면도 계속 계속 말해도 돼 미조구적인 수진 난기 단진들도 수진 난기 녀모들도 계속 계속 말하고 그러다 삼단 서로 마단도 갈래 제방에 배운 또 검증한 배운 게 감이서 쇼르도 미지 라비아한테 내 강가 누구도 이거는 단에 말한주 냐네양도 심주제다 오늘 이 공내반이야지 되도 하고 이렇게 예전버리겠어
And when Geshe was a student at monastery, his teacher used to remind about this. We always point fingers to others, but when you look at your own hand, only one finger is pointing to others and three are actually pointing to yourself. So, you need to be aware of this, three fingers pointing to yourself. And that kind of tells that, three fingers, of course, has more, kind of weight than one. When you balance it, has more weight than. So, here the point is, before pointing fingers to others, you need to do some kind of, investigation. Is it worth of doing it? And look at your own self. How much, negativities that you have with yourself, and this will kind of help, understanding yourself, and also, understanding others, and the more you understand about other sentient beings, it will kind of help you to generate, the positive mentalities like compassion, respect of others, and benefiting others, and the practice of like non-violence, and this should all, all come from compassionate mind, and simply, absence of, weapons like gun or whatever, it doesn't mean that it is, non-violence. It should come from one's heart, from one's compassion, and the compassion that we show and practice are actually, these compassions are more needed by the sentient beings who needs protection and who doesn't have, somebody to rely upon for their help. So when you kind of have a good understanding of overall situation or condition of yourself and other sentient beings, then it will help you to kind of understand how other sentient beings are grateful to yourself, to your own existence, and through this, you will reach to the point where you won't see enemies out there, and actually all problems, difficulties are generated from your own mind, self-grasping, the negative mind that you have.
Tendeji ngone thagi diche baina yang ngi nyomol khade cha thugu yota segimeda gegin kadinchen jormuchi ona kibutamba tegidi pha sunsha gyade lendeche labya mado ngara tengi nyamlenche thugunji ten sawani na mare oda tinje gala yang samrodana khoriji to to so samdana oda ti ngone kyeso soso ngone rang la shazachi pentochi rang la digi tumin dena digi to so gombajine yabores.
And His Holiness the First Dalai Lama Gendudub has correctly said that the true enemy is inside, and this is one that you should be destroying. And this we can know from we can understand from our own experiences. although when negative mentalities first generated within our mind, they generate as if they are supporting you, they are protecting you as your good friend. But when everything, the mental negativities are all settled down, then you will know that the friends that you had before are not there. Physically, there is no calmness, mentally no peace. All these, kind of these are the result that produced by the negative mentalities. And Geshe said, he's not saying that, because he can do all this, but, he's sharing us what he learned from his teachers. And, so they are, means and methods that we can practice. And when you try to think and, about how to, bring yourself joy and happiness and peace, there is a way that we can do it. And if you care for yourself and if you want happiness for yourself, then these are some ways that you can practice.
대삼 생기디기 땡땡 야지가담 발라거리 어디 뭐니 뭐여기니 소리 이 주로 제나는 나도 주로 뭐니 카드 자야지 차대요 뭐니 펜다요미 즉 디기 살통는 샘저로 대화지 살통나 니가는 두기로 맞아진 가버려.
And when you look at the this process of finding happiness and peace, many of these has backed up by a valid reason, and so without thinking, mind process, it doesn't matter, even if you have billions and billions of dollars, without thought process, you won't be experiencing any happiness or peace. And even if you live in a house completely made from gold, if there is no change in the mind, you won't experience the peace of the mind. So these are the things that you will find in Buddhism, very challenging, and and this is the means, the transformation or changing or mind process is the only way that if you want to seek happiness, this is the only way that we can adopt.
What? 두스제 삼로 당사대 두스제 단디 치마들라 아니 제라마와다 제라도 셰바데 용거라 니바 남바사게 비투다 지셰바데 찬니 다 제라도 셰바데 용거라 와다디 디제 아니 그레게 아포스터 심부시부지요레 대체 삼자 말해 소제
So Geshe, this is kind of briefly about how you can think, generally about Buddhism, and we'll go on to the next. And this is the Great Exposition School, the first or the the lowest school of thoughts in Buddhism. And when you look at the the English translation, as I said before, the indented part is your own note. It is not the Tibetan translation. So I won't be reading this because Geshe is not reading. It's not the Tibetan text. And we'll take a break, maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and we shall have a tea.